Hello everybody, I'm National Master Jesse Cohen. This is Silman School of Chess. This is the chess.com lesson series on Jeremy Silman Teaches Strategy. Jeremy Silman, best-selling chess author, known for very famous books such as How to Reassess Your Chess 4th edition and the workbook. I also greatly appreciate his Amateur's Mind book as well as his tactics book as well. In his books, Jeremy Silman kind of lays out a 5-step method for how to plan a chess position. And planning a chess position is the hardest thing you can do in chess. Without going into a super deep study of everything he lays out, I'm going to try to break it down as simply as possible. Chess, according to Jeremy Silman, is about creating and using imbalances, is the key word that he coins, which means any major difference between the two positions. So, okay, in layman's terms, this is what you do. You compare white and black's positions. How's white's queen doing? How's black's queen doing? You actually compare the pieces, compare the situation. See where white is superior, see where black is superior. See if anything can be changed. Once you know that, it'll give you kind of a guideline if you're really paying attention on what you should do. Because, for example, if you notice that your opponent has a bunch of pieces out and you don't, if you're comparing that, you might think to yourself, maybe I should catch up. Maybe I should balance that out. These logical thought processes will naturally start to assume. Take away this. Before you make your next chess move, take a second to stop and compare the two positions. See what you have that is different than your opponent and try to either make your pluses work for you or to get rid of your minuses, okay? In this position, let's take a look. If we compare the two positions, what can we compare? How about king safety? King safety is like the number one thing in chess. Would I say that either of these kings is more or less safe than the other? I would say that they're both a bit the same, equal, safe. However, I could argue that perhaps black's king is slightly weakened by the pushing of the h6 pawn, although I don't detect any severe weakening. Although the bishop on a2 does create this nice pin here, and so is that really pressuring the king? I wouldn't say a ton. Maybe it could amount to something someday. What else is going on here? How about the center control? If you look at the center control, at least when it comes to direct occupation, it seems like it's equal. Both sides have an equal play for the center. How about we compare some of the pieces? Let's see here. This knight is about just as good as that knight. They're both just sitting there attacking the center like that. These two knights appear to be similar. However, I'm going to say that this knight is a bit superior for the following reason. This knight might want to hop into that sweet outpost, a term that we'll discuss in a different video, which is just a really great spot for a piece, especially knights. Remember, knights are short-range pieces. They need to go up the chessboard to become effective. White is eyeballing the chance to play knight d5, a nice square in black's territory that we have good support of with the pawn. And this knight kind of seems like it's just trying to keep it out of there. So I would say this knight is a bit superior, even though on the surface they look at the moment to be about the same. Future says that this knight might be a bit superior. Comparing the rooks isn't even a comparison. White's rooks are fully mobilized on the open d file, and these rooks sit passively on f8 and a8, doing basically nothing. Same kind of deal when comparing the bishops. White's bishop on a2 is on a nice diagonal, creating a pin and possibly some pressure against the black king, whereas this bishop sits on its starting square doing absolutely nothing. But it seems like it could come out pretty reasonably quickly to some reasonable spots, yeah? Let's look at the queens. To be completely honest, the only thing I think that is actually superior about this position for black is the black queen. She is better placed than the white queen. She's performing some key functions. She's the only piece guarding e5 from our attack from our knight. She's also maybe helping fight for a key c4 square someday if that knight could ever get there. Who knows? She's doing a lot of useful things. Whereas our queen, again, is like, what is she doing? For that and several other reasons, we come up with the move queen e3. This move may seem so simple now, but actually this might hit your prejudices right on the nose. You might be asking yourself, why are we allowing black to create double isolated pawns by trading off the queens? Of course we take back. The answer is because of the incoming problems that black has to deal with. Black immediately has to deal with the threat of knight takes the center pawn on e5, but in addition to that, The move a5 is also kind of an annoying thing that white might do to play against black's knight by kicking it backwards, because the only safe squares for it are to go backwards. And in addition, yeah, I mean, there's no clear way for black to just exploit these pawns super well. And, you know, it's just, yeah, that's all I can really say about it. I mean, black could maybe make some one-move attack on e3, but frankly, it's quite easy to defend against. Instead, black decides to try and catch up in development, something that black, so if you were the black pieces, you should have thought to yourself at some point, hey, in this position, white has all of their pieces activated and I don't. Logically, maybe I should activate them. So the bishop comes out, pinning the knight to the rook and stopping the threat of knight takes e5. How should we proceed? Well, there's several things that we want to do here, but sometimes we have to take advantage of an opportunity. This move could be stopped. We might as well play pawn a5, attacking this knight, and again, driving it back to a passive square. The only safe squares for this knight are c8 and d7. Remember, the way you play against knights is to A, take away their advanced support points, and B, drive them backwards. This might seem kind of silly to play the knight to c8 all the way back, but had black played the move knight to d7, the only thing stopping white from winning two minor pieces for a rook would be the bishop on g4. After knight b to d7, white might just play h3, where black has nothing better than bishop takes knight, pawn takes back, which would only give up the bishop and help solidify these, potentially weakened double isolated pawns. Okay, what do we do from here? This is kind of a hard choice. On the surface, we should still be thinking, we have all these super activated pieces compared to black. Therefore, we should use them. Remember, the first world champion also commands us. World champion Willem Steinitz said, if you have the superior position, you must launch an attack. Otherwise, your advantage will go away. And in this position, we need to launch an attack. I don't just mean necessarily a one-move attack. I mean like a specific attack on a specific target, if we can hopefully hit it with 3 or more pieces. And we don't know it yet, but where would be a potentially good target? Typically, masters are aiming at pawns, especially pawns that aren't being guarded by other pawns. The other thing is in this position is that white has this nice open file. What is the purpose of an open file? Honestly, it's to penetrate. An open file is like a bridge that you have between your position and your opponent's position. The goal is to use it to go into their position typically and attack from within. But take a close look. This rook has no safe penetration point other than d8. But if we play rook d8, it doesn't have a threat, and after knight e7, black is immediately threatening to win a rook, and we're just going to end up either retreating it, wasting time, or trading it off. It's just a waste of time. Remember, our advantage right now is time sensitive. We have an advantage that says we have these pieces out, but it's not a forever thing. You give black enough moves, knight e7, knight c7, rook a d8, then most of black's army is suddenly activated, and maybe it's not so bad anymore. We have to be able to go quickly. Because of all these many reasons, we come up with the move rook c1. The goal, other than to unpin the knight on f3, making the threat of knight takes e5 come back alive, is the prospect of possibly penetrating on the c7 square. c7 is actually an open, undefended square, and if we could get our rook there, then that would be way, way, way good, wouldn't it? Black takes the knight in order to solve the threat, and we take back. Hey, there goes our pawns, right? And knight e7. Black is desperately trying to reactivate that knight and get the rest of the rooks into this game. We have to keep chugging along. We have to keep pressing forward and creating problems for the opponent to keep them off balance. Otherwise, they will simply catch up in development and our advantage will dissipate. Knight d5. We don't really want to put the knight here when it's going to get swapped off, but black isn't so eager necessarily to swap this off. If they do swap it off, we might take with a pawn and suddenly create a pass pawn, and that could be quite powerful. Instead, knight c6 attempts to keep our rook out. What do? Knight takes f6. We don't want to trade off a superior knight for an inferior knight, but again, we need to find a way to create meaningful pressure on black. This both hurts black's kingside and as well gives an immediate open pathway to rook d7, and we finally penetrate into black's position and can start doing damage, to putting a lot more pressure on the f7 square and an immediate threat on the b7 square. Black is not happy about having to play these super passive moves, but what can you do? How would you proceed here as white? Think carefully before you simply defend on a5. Remember, as an advanced player, it is your goal to try and put your ideas first all the time. King f2. Don't forget that we just transitioned into an endgame not too long ago. Things like king activity are starting to matter. Not to mention, this comes with a threat. This opens up our rook to go over to the g1 squared check, which would force black to play king h8 or king h7, which would win the f7 pawn by force after black is forced off it. Black takes on a5. Don't get me wrong, this is a super tempting move. However, it's not more tempting than 2 rooks on the 7th. Oh no, 2 rooks on the 7th rank, otherwise known as pigs. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. f7 is under complete duress here. Black tries desperately to trade off. Check here. One of the sad things about black's position is just how out of play the pieces are. White's rook is way superior to black's rook. White's bishop is still way superior to black's knight, and this king is cut off by the bishop and rook and can't even enter the game. And so this king has definitely the potential to become way more active than that king. So what should we do here? Well, there's a few things. I kind of like king g3, but we're going to go ahead and play the correct move here, bishop d5, centralizing our bishop and tickling the b7 pawn. Remember, chop down pawns at the base. Think of them like trees. Pawn b5. Now this is a nice little cute move. Remember, again in chess at its basic form is about getting good things for you and giving bad things to your opponent, and trying to make the good things you have as good as you can be. Sometimes you swap them off, sometimes you keep them. In this case, remember, the biggest problem that black is having in this position is that white's pieces are just so much more active. Again, compare them. And this knight on a5 is desperately trying to get back in the game. Black might even sacrifice a pawn to bring that knight back in the game. So we're going to go ahead and say no. We're going to keep that knight completely shut down. Really take a second and look at black's position. So many beginners and intermediate players and even advanced players think that they can beat a master by going into an endgame, when sometimes that can be the worst thing you can do if you don't know what you're actually walking into. In this position, black is toast. It's going to take some time, but realistically speaking, every single black piece is cut out of the game and does not have a clear way at all on how to re-enter it and become a meaningful piece that does anything harmful to white basically at all. At this point, we're simply going to maximize our position. Active king. We have all sorts of ideas for this king to come up here. Maybe start tickling the base pawn on f6 or h6. Maybe even help coordinate a checkmate threat. Hey, if we had a king on g6 and played rook h7, that'd be mate in 1. f5. Obviously not falling for that. We're just going to keep activating. Takes back. Should we take like this? No. That would let the rook perhaps penetrate down to d2 and create some problems for us. We don't want to give anything to black. It does get the f-file, but that really doesn't promise much, especially with the possibility of us mating them looming on the horizon. Rook d6. Black senses that we're going to come in here and maybe mate them, and so they try desperately to guard against these weaknesses and also cut off our king from coming in. But really, our opponent is helpless. Again, put yourself in black's shoes. Think to yourself, what reasonable move can you play? And there's almost none. Black is basically resigned to moving the rook back and forth. The only thing I can explain about this move is that Botvinnik is toying with his opponent. And now, finally, we start looking to give the coup de grace here. How do we finally improve the position? The rook is stopping us from coming into f5, hitting the e5 pawn. What should we do? When in doubt, keep putting pressure on the weaknesses. e5, a6, and h6 As pawns that cannot be guarded by other pawns easily or at all, they are our prime suspect. Rook to a7. Sure, that knight can move to c6, but it'd be walking right into rook takes a6. No bueno. Rook b6. We could play king f5, but that could potentially allow knight c6 suddenly. Rook e7. And in this position, Grandmaster Sorokin resigns. In light of the fact that the e5 pawn cannot be saved, and in light of the fact that moves like knight to e5 would result in the immediate, knight to c6 would result in the pin of rook to e6 losing a piece. Okay, again, on its basic level, when you look at these chess games, they don't have to be so terribly complicated. Sometimes a chess game really is about getting good things that are different than your opponent, getting a better position, finding a way to make meaningful targets and use your advantages before they fade away, and keep that pressure up, even if you have to go into an endgame. Keep your pieces superior to your opponents, keep the pressure on those targets, and watch them fall apart. Remember, beginners target pieces. Beginners are chasing queens around like, it's going to save the world. Masters are targeting pawns. We understand that they are weak, that they are slow, and that ultimately they are the backbone of a chess position. And as they fall, their comrades fall, and their entire position falls apart. So, be a master, target pawns, make your pieces superior to your opponents, compare the differences, read the board first, and then make your moves, not the way around, okay? I'm National Master Jesse Cohen. This is the first in a series of exploring Jeremy Silman Teaches Strategy. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. Goodbye for now.